I think you need to start this one. I think you need to start this one. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with our webinar, but before we're going to give it a few more minutes before we start for a few more people to join. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with our webinar, but before we're going to give it a few more minutes before we start for a few more people to join. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with our webinar, but before we're going to give it a few more minutes before we start for a few more people to join. Good morning, everyone. It's when I live stream, that's when it happens. What do we do?
Comes with a ringtone.
Why?
Because they have like this delay in the signal.
But why does it talk? Is it supposed to talk? Do you see me?
I can see the line.
You can't? On Instagram, you can't see? Oh my God. All right, let's do this. Good morning, everyone. We're just about to get started with our webinar called Breaking into HR in 2026. We're going to launch it on our Zoom as well. Yes. Perfect. Before we get started, we ask everyone that we also treat these webinars as a networking event where we get to know each other, and you also get to know different businesses that we have within our industry and within our network. So if you can do an introduction of yourself, your contact name, your business name, your contact information, and why are you attending this webinar? That would be very good for us to get to know who you are, and you will get to see who else is participating in this webinar. Today's topic is breaking into HR in 2026. We'll talk about California HR careers. We'll talk about HRCI certification and apprenticeship programs that there are available. In our agenda, we'll be covering who we are as a company, who is this webinar for, what we'll cover today, talking about not having an HR degree. Do you need to have an HR degree? What is it that you need to be able to be successful in an HR career? What entry-level HR managers hire for? Some transferable skills that you can learn in a career as an HR professional. Your first 12 months, we'll talk about that. What do you need to do? What can you do right now to get into HR? And also, California HR reality check is another thing that we'll do. We'll talk about different tips and best practices that will set you up for success in this career. We'll also talk about certifications, HRCI certifications, which one is the best one for you. You will get to see which one is your best fit or which one should you be studying for. At last, we'll talk about apprenticeships. We'll talk about resumes, 3 must-haves for entry-level HR. So what do HR managers look for when you are applying for an application? And then we'll also at the end have a Q&A session where we'll cover different questions that we have going on from our audience. So let's get started. To begin with, who am I? My name is Anna Bakuns, and I'm the founder and CEO of HR Lab Los Angeles. Our company has been around for over 7 years now, and we are talking about HR consulting and professional development courses. We have business courses, we have HRCI certification preparation courses, and different things that will set you up for success. I myself have the aPHR certification, which stands for Senior Professional of Human Resources, one of the HRCI certifications. I have over 15 years of experience in compliance and HR, human resources, and let's talk about our vision of the future of the workforce. For us in our company, we believe that the future of the workforce is developing your talent within. So we believe in training your talent, making sure that you nurture your talent, because this is the best way that you're going to grow great professionals for your company and for them to be even greater when they leave your company to do better or whatever their choice is in life. Now, who is this webinar for? And again, if you want to join this Zoom webinar, you can email us at support@hrlablosangeles.com and we can email you the Zoom link for it right away. In the meantime, this webinar is for those who want career change, who are recent graduates, administrators, operation professionals moving into HR, and anyone job hunting for entry-level HR in California. What we'll cover today. So we'll break into what we're going to be talking about, how to break into HR, right? A lot of times we have some people that come into us and they have our coaching sessions and they say, I want to become an HR professional. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. So we'll cover exactly that. We'll talk about California HR career paths. Should you be a generalist, specialist, compliance? Should you go into recruiting? We'll talk about the different HR certifications that there are available and the most common ones. And then we'll also cover some resume tips, interview tips, and then talk about programs and certificates that we have in our company. So let's get started. So no HR degree, that's totally fine, right? No problem. If you don't have an HR degree and you do want to get into HR, there are ways to go around it. And what we mean by this is that the most important thing that when you start in HR is not to have the expectation that you're going to become an HR manager right away, HR director right away. It sounds really good, but however, it's much harder in practice because just like any other career, just like any other job that we have, we need to start from the top, from the bottom to be able to get to the top. We need to get the experience, we need to get the exposure. It's always good to know the theory, of course, which is why we go to school, take different courses, different certifications. However, what's really important is for you to have the actual experience, not just in HR, but every other position that you have going on. So if you don't have an HR degree, that's totally fine. You still have ways to get into HR in California, especially. So what do employers actually look for? They look for transferable skills, they look for basic HR knowledge, and they look for proof that you're serious. This can be a certification, these can be courses, these can be projects that you talk about. So think about all of these things as we talk about more and more about in this webinar. But your basic HR knowledge is when basically you go to an interview and they ask you questions. What do you know about HR? It is what you have done research on, what you know that you're going to tell them. And this is how they're going to see if you're serious about this or if you're not serious. If you're just looking for a job and you see that, oh, there's an HR assistant job, I think I can do it, that's not actually showing interest, right? Unless you have done the research, unless you have done your homework. So very important for you to have some knowledge in HR. Does not have to be practical. However, this can be theory at the entry level position. And then showing that you're serious, you can get certifications, you can show that you've taken courses. There are so many courses these days available. And if you're going in for an interview, you can show the best, simplest way to show that you're interested about the field is to show some kind of either certification or a course that you've taken or talk about a project that you've taken that involved HR and it was of interest to you. Basically, you want to spark an interest in the hiring manager's mind and idea, showing why should they hire you, why should they get you to work for them. Now, what entry-level HR managers hire for? So they want evidence of communication and professionalism. They want confidentiality and judgment, administrative accuracy and follow through, and people skills and conflict handling, and of course, comfort with systems like Excel, Google, applicant tracking systems, right? In this day and age, it is absolutely essential for you to have knowledge in Excel, Google, how to track applicants. And again, there are so many videos and resources on this that this should not be an obstacle for you to be to say, I have no idea how to use Excel. I have no idea how to use Google Sheets, right? This is something that you can absolutely learn if you have the willingness to do so. Aside from that, what HR managers are looking for in an entry-level position is communication and professionalism. So how are you at communicating? From the very first second that you email them, are you actually following with the hello? Are you actually following with the proper closing? How are you boarding your emails? All of these things are very important. Confidentiality is another one that we're looking for all the time because by default, we always get HR managers, HR professionals always get information that they don't necessarily need to know. However, when people start exposing their secrets and different things that are going on with them, you as an HR professional need to be able to keep that inside, not go around and say, did you hear so-and-so has done this or so-and-so has something going on in their personal life? You have absolutely no room for gossip in an HR field, in an HR career. Attention to details is another one. So administrative accuracy, follow through. If someone asks you something, are you actually going to do it? Did you actually have a follow through? What are these things that are HR managers looking for? It's exactly this. Now, transferable skills is another thing that HR managers look for when they are looking to hire for an entry-level HR position. Transferable skills are also HR skills. So what do we mean by this? So if you've done work in any of this, you've done HR adjacent work, and those are customer service, because customer service is really de-escalation, employee relations fundamentals, right? If you've been in customer service, if you know how to treat people, if you have a customer that comes and yells at you and you don't yell back at them, and you have a story about this, please, by all means, discuss this during an interview and bring up an example how you have done this. You had a situation where there was an angry customer that they came into you and how you resolved it and how you succeeded at resolving it. Next one is scheduling or dispatch. If you in the past you've had scheduling or dispatch experience, that talks about your coordination, talks about your attention to details, documentation, and knowing sense of urgency. Having that sense of urgency is another very important skill to have in the field of HR because if you have, like, many times we come in with a whole different agenda. We want to do different things, go through documentation, paperwork, but what we end up with is a whole bunch of different things that we have to do. So that sense of urgency and understanding what's urgent, what's not urgent, what can wait, and what cannot wait is very important and crucial in this. So also very important to have this as an HR professional. Another transferable skill that can be used as you're going into HR is administrative or office management work. Many times I can tell you from the side of the client, we have clients that call us and say, I have an office manager, but they also do HR, they do many other things, and they do this, they do hiring, they do onboarding, all the things. So if you have worked in an office setting, if you've worked in an administrative setting, this can be a transferable skill into HR because this shows you knowing records and you knowing compliance support. At last, this last one of the last ones that you can show your adjacent HR adjacent work is team lead. Being a team lead, as in coaching, performance conversation, right? When you're leading, when you're a team lead, you come with a lot of coaching experience. You come in with performance conversations. When you're a team leader, you have to be able to tell your team leaders, your coworkers, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what I'm happy with. Can you do better in this regard? Can you do that better in that regard? Or if they're doing something good, you also need to express that too. So you can see by how all of these skills that you have are actually transferable skills, and you can use them in your interviewing process as an entry-level HR professional. Now, your first 12 months, let's say you're thinking about getting started right now. What can you do? What's the roadmap, right? Like, what can you do next? Your first thing to do is pick a lane. Now, what do we mean by this is either becoming a generalist, a recruiting HR professional, compliance, or HR ops. All of these are different and they all have their different interests. So you're a generalist, an HR generalist comes with experience and a lot of different things when it comes to HR. They can be handling different things, everything that goes into HR. The opposite to this is a specialist, right? If you're specialized in something, let's say you're specialized in benefits, or let's say you're specialized in onboarding, this is something much more narrow, and this is your specialty that in HR. Recruiting is another lane that you can pick in HR. Compliance is another one. There are so many laws and regulations in HR and employment law that you have to understand those and know those to be able to set companies for success. And of course, HR operations, again, something that's very extensive. It covers a lot of things. But basically, the main point behind this first step in our roadmap is to understand what is it that you like to do? What is it that you want to try? Maybe you don't even know what you like to do. And what you can do is actually just try for these things, see what makes sense, see what you like doing, and what is it that you want to not do, so to say. Number two is building credibility. For this, it can be aPHR courses. aPHR stands for Associate Professional Human Resources, and it's a certification that you can get from HRCI, which is one of the main governing bodies that will issue this certifications for HR. We also have SHRM and we have HRCI. So HRCI is the one that offers aPHR, and for this one, you actually do not need any HR experience. So you can go in and get your aPHR certification and then just have it on your resume. And if you're trying to get in for an entry-level position, if any HR manager sees that you have the aPHR certification, I can tell you with confidence that this will be like one way that your resume will stand out. Because if I see that someone does not necessarily have specific HR experience, however, they have the aPHR certification, that translates to me that this person is very interested in the field and they want to become they want to be in the field, they want to become an HR professional. So it does make you stand out, absolutely. Also, HR projects. Even if you're an office manager and you want to get into HR and you're going for the interview, again, talk about these HR projects, talk about what's going on, talk about what you have and what you don't have, the projects that you've done, the onboarding that you have supported with, how have you done it, what have been your best practices, best days, things that you can actually say and stand out. Next up is applying strategically. So obviously we know this by now, right? Keywords are really important, titles are very important, and then targets are really important. So you want to make sure that you know who are you directing your keywords toward. Who do you want to be hired by? Do you want any specific industry? Do you care about the title? All these things are things that you need to talk about and address in your roadmap. At last, building California compliance fluency during year one. California is a very interesting state. They actually call it country of California because of the amount of regulations that we have each year. So every year, the governor signs a whole bunch of different laws and we have to literally abide by them because there's nothing else that we can do. This is the state that we're in. This is the state that we're working in. So as you're going into your career as an HR professional, I highly encourage you to participate in all the different compliance webinars in HR because there are so many these days, and you should be able to have that compliance fluency during your first year. So keep on watching different webinars, keep on learning, keep on digesting the knowledge that you get, and keep on understanding how this knowledge will apply to you in your career. And again, this is going to set you up for success. Now, entry-level titles that you can search for. You should absolutely save this, and then if you need the screenshot of this slide specifically, you feel free to email us, and we'll get it to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. But search for these titles in LinkedIn or Indeed. Those are the main search engines really that we have these days. So you want to search for HR assistant. You want to search for an HR coordinator, HR administrator, or HR admin is another keyword that you can search for. Title that you can search for: recruiting coordinator, talent acquisition assistant, and people operations coordinator for some companies. This would be for a larger company, or some of the newer companies like to not say the word HR because of the bad connotation that it used to have. And they call it people operations coordinator. So that's another title that you can search for when it comes to searching for your entry-level position. California HR reality check is our next slide. And what this talks about is basically California adds complexity, but also opportunity as an HR professional. So we have wage and hour compliance. That's very important in California. Basically, this has to do everything that with people coming in on time, taking their meal breaks, logging in their time. Are they rounding the times? There's so much opportunity and so much exposure there for companies. So this is one way that you can absolutely learn, understand what wage and hour compliance is, and be an expert in that. Next one is heavily regulated industries. We have so many different industries that come with a lot of different regulations. It can be the food industry, it can be the construction industry. Every industry has its nuances, and you need to know these and understand these and be able to apply it in the company for the success of the company. Higher demand for HR coordinators and compliance support. So because of these complexities, because of all these changes that are happening on a regular basis, you never know enough. We in our company, we always go to legal seminars, webinars, we always participate in those because there's always something to learn. There's always something new that you can learn. And you can never say that "Yeah, I know it all. I have everything. I have all the knowledge in HR." That's absolutely not true. There's always so much to learn and so much room for growth. California HR career paths, right? Like we're talking about California. This is the state that our company is based in. But think about it once you watch this webinar. If you're coming from a different state, if you're coming from a different country, that's totally fine. Just see how you can apply this for your specific case if you're not in California. But if you are, some of the most common paths that you can take in this state is to become an HR generalist, right? This is a very broad common path. HR generalists are needed everywhere because of the knowledge that they have, the general knowledge in HR that they have. Talent acquisition and recruiting, especially in this day and age, the work industry that we live in, it's very big for people to have a proper recruiting team and have talent acquisition teams. Sometimes they outsource this to other companies, but if you want this, if you like this, if you like recruiting, then you can totally and absolutely become a recruiting coordinator, recruiting assistant, and then grow in this career. This is something that you can absolutely do. And then next one is HR ops, HRIS, people operations, right? Understanding HRIS, understanding human resources information systems. How do you coordinate things? How do you upload documentation? How do you send messages in this digital era? All of these things is another common paths that you can have in your as an HR professional. And of course, compliance, leave it admin, employee relations support. Very important. We deal with this with our clients all the time where they have a compliance needs, they have different needs with leaves, benefits and leaves, right? Medical leaves, different leaves that you have. You have discrimination cases, you have pregnancy disability leave. There are so many leaves, and that's just one on its own. It is one big industry and a career path that you can have as an HR professional. And of course, employee relations. In California, especially, we have so many different countries, we have so many different cultures that we have. There's so much diversity here. So employee relations is a real thing, is something very important that actually does need HR professionals because we need to have someone that guides us in this differences, right? In our differences. How are we talking to each other? How we're supporting each other? How do we even something simple things as, like hand gestures, right? We just the other day we had a training where we were covering how like there's so many different cultures within the same company, a small company of 40 people, and there were different cultures, different nationalities, different languages. And one of the most important things that we came into an agreement as a company as a whole was to understand that what's normal for me might not be normal for you. If it's normal for me not to keep eye contact, it may not be normal for the other culture. And this is how we're disrespect. I think that you're disrespecting me and you think that I'm disrespecting you. But in reality, I'm just not used to it in my culture. But if people have that awareness, if people have that understanding about the cultures that they're working with, the cultures that others are coming from, it's going to make to support the company much better. People will feel supported. And if this is exactly what employee relations support is. And again, this is something that you can set your career path in. Now, generalist versus specialist. This is something that's very specific for an individual, so choose smart. Think about this. Think what makes sense for you and what do you want to do. Well, so a generalist will do things like onboarding, benefits, employee relations support, policies. This is what a generalist would do. A specialist will be specialized in recruiting, right? So all you do is recruiting. You do nothing else but recruiting. All you do is benefits. So nothing else but benefits. You do learning and development or you do compliance. So as we talk about these different general things that go into HR, the HR specialist will be doing one of those things. The advantage is that they become very specialized in this and they will be very innovative in this. They will know exactly what to do. They will know they have very good experience in this as a specialist. Generalist covers a lot more. They may not have as much specialized experience. However, what they will have is very broad knowledge of different things, which is also very good and it's beneficial. Some companies may even have both, depending on what they have going on and within their industry and how big they are. So they may have an HR generalist and they may have HR specialists that handle different things, and these work as a team. Best beginner move, start broad or start recruiting, then specialize. I do love this as a beginner move because when you start broad, you get to see what's the category of HR that I like. Do I love onboarding? Do I love recruiting? Do I like benefits? Do I like employee relations support? When you start with a generalist HR generalist position, this gives you the perfect idea to understand what you like and what you don't like. Now, the 10-second HR career ladder to kind of cover like the most important, the quickest way to become a director of HR, right? So you start as an HR assistant, then you move into an HR coordinator, then you go to an HR generalist or recruiter. From then, you can go to HRBP, which stands for Human Resources Business Partner, then HR manager, and then director VP of HR. Now, this obviously depends on the size of the company. If it's a smaller company, they may not have as many different positions. If it's a bigger company, they will definitely have many of these roles within the HR career ladder. So this is not a standard thing. It's not just one way to do it all, but you generally want to know that this is the path to your success. You start from an HR assistant, and then you get to a level of a director or a VP of HR with time and experience and effort. Now, after covering all this, let's talk about certification. So where does HRCI fits? HRCI stands for Human Resources Certification Institute. What's really important to know about HRCI is that it's global. It's a global HR certifying body. And why certifications matter here, or any certifications, not just in HR, but in general, why do certifications matter? It's because they give credibility and structure, they help you stand out in entry-level pools, and they signal commitment to the field. So if I see, like I said in the beginning of the webinar, like if I see someone that has any kind of certification, it tells me that this person actually spent some time in becoming certified. They actually made this effort to have the certification, even though it's time consuming, even though it's not easy, but they actually took the time and they did it. aPHR. So let's talk about the most important. There are different types of AP certifications from HRCI, but we'll cover the most important ones, or not even the most important, but the ones that are most common, I should say. So aPHR, as we discussed, stands for Associate Professional of Human Resources. It's ideal if you're new to HR. If you don't have any HR experience, that's totally fine. You can still take the certification and pass it. All you need to have is a high school diploma or an equivalent, and this course builds amazing foundational HR knowledge. It gives you a lot of theory knowledge. It gives you a lot of concepts. It's a very good course if you're trying to get your foot in the door with HR. So it's very, very good. It's very beneficial. We do have certification courses that we train for the certification. So certification preparation courses, we'll talk about this towards the end of the webinar. It doesn't have to be through us, but you can even do it on your own. But the most important thing is to know that there is certification that you can do without any experience, and that's aPHR. So aPHR versus PHR versus SPHR, a quick match between the few. So aPHR is when you're new to HR. You're brand new, you just started, just got into the field, you want to get the aPHR certification. Next up is PHR, so Professional of Human Resources. This one is tactical. It is very technical knowledge that you're learning, and you're being tested on tactical knowledge. It typically needs 1 to 2 years of HR experience. Generally, it's a little more, but 1 to 2 years of experience, you may be able to have your certification with that time frame. Next is SPHR. This one is very strategic. This one is all about seniority, leadership, and that stands for Senior Professional of Human Resources. So 3 different certifications that we're covering in this webinar: aPHR, PHR, SPHR. And it starts from aPHR, goes into PHR, and then goes to SPHR. So talking about all of this, another thing that you can find for yourself to expose yourself to more HR knowledge and more HR, building an HR career, are HR apprenticeships. What an HR apprenticeship is a paid, structured, on-the-job HR experience. Your training is aligned with competency models. There's real work and documented learning. So it's very important for you to know that there's a thing such as called HR apprenticeship. Look for those, try to find that. If you do find that and you do succeed in that, it would be very good for you to become a professional and get paid and get the learning as you're doing this. Why are these apprenticeships powerful? So the most important thing why these apprenticeships are powerful is that number one, you don't have experience, but with the apprenticeship, you actually do get the experience. So you get the theory and knowledge, and you get the practical experience. So HR Lab ourselves, we have the approved apprenticeship program for HR. What this means is that we get employees that come in, apprentices that come in to us, we give them the knowledge, so they go through our HR certification course as they're learning practical experience. And this is what makes it amazing for them because once they graduate from the program, they have experience both in theory and knowledge, and they can go into the field with a lot more experience than just an entry-level position. So the number one problem that you solve with this, with having an apprentice or applying for an apprenticeship, is the no experience, right? You get hands-on exposure, you get to onboard different clients, you get HR administration, you get recruiting support, you get mentorship and structured progression because there is a progress and there is a ladder in these apprenticeship programs. And of course, you get experience the employers respect because you actually learned, you started at the entry level and you went through the process and you learned, you gained really good knowledge, and now you're an HR professional. Now, we talked about all these different things. We're covering a lot of information in this webinar, but let's talk about the resume. So what three must-haves are there for an entry-level HR position? Number one, we covered transferable skills, conflict, admin, data, confidentiality. If you have any of these, you want to have this on your resume, right? So again, conflict management, this is huge. This is very big. We actually had one of our clients, they hired for a caregiver, and the employee had an experience from the army. And within this army training of theirs, they had conflict management training, and this was very amazing because even though this is not a common thing to have, having this conflict management experience, crisis management experience was something that did make them stand out. So if you have any kind of training in conflict management, conflict resolution, administrative training, data analysis, data entry, talk about these things in your resume, and of course, talk about these things in your interview as well. Next up are education, HR education, and certification. So educational courses and certifications. So if you have any HR courses that you have taken within your bachelor's degree, within your associate degree, as you were studying, if you were taking any courses, even online, mention those on your resume. Especially if you have any certifications such as aPHR, do make sure that you mention that on your resume because you want the HR managers to see this and get you in for an interview where you can talk about your skills, you can talk about how you're going to contribute to the company's success. So with the HR education and certification goes into aPHR, coursework, workshops, any of those that you have related to HR, mention those, highlight those, very, very important. Next up are HR tech and tools, right? Excel, Google Workspace, applicant tracking system, HRIS exposure, anything that you have that talks about your HR tech skills, your tools that you can use in HR, you want to mention this in your resume and you want to talk about this again during the interview. So going over this again, the three must-haves for entry-level HR are transferable skills, conflict, admin, data confidentiality, HR educational courses, and certifications if you have any. So this would be aPHR coursework workshops, and then HR tech or tools that you have knowledge of. Excel, Google, applicant tracking system, HRIS, which stands for Human Resources Information Systems. Any exposure to any of these, you want to mention this in your resume and talk about it during an interview as well. Now, ATS keywords. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System and Interview Readiness. So ATS keywords should include, if it's true, any experience that you have with onboarding, recruiting coordination, employee records. So if you deal with employee records, you want to mention that as well. Compliance, benefits administration, HRIS documentation. If you have any experience with any of these, you should include these keywords in your applicant tracking system. Well, within your resume and then within the application, of course. How would you handle confidential employee complaint? Also very important to know and understand. And then another thing that you want to address in the interview is listening, documenting confidentiality, escalating appropriately. If they ask you questions, have stories, have specific examples with any one of these categories so you're able to look prepared and ready for these questions on their interview. So if someone asks you, how would you handle a confidential employee complaint? Be able to answer this question because most likely they will ask you these. If they say, describe a time where you had to document something and you had to keep it confidential. If they say, describe a time where you were in a situation and you had to escalate it, how did you escalate it? Where did you go? Did you go to the HR manager? Did you go to your subordinates, the peer superior? What did you do? You want to be able to have these questions in a very proper, organized manner when you're answering them. So next steps. So as we're approaching the end of our webinar, what are the next steps that you can do and help yourself as an HR professional, or if you are becoming, you just want to become an HR professional? What are the resources that we can give you, and what certifications should you get? So pick your next three actions this week. So pick your HR lane. We covered how this lane can be something that has to do with being a generalist, recruiting, people operations. What is it that you want to do, and what is it that you like to do? Next up is updating your resume. Your resume is very important. We have professional coaching sessions in our company. You can use ChatGPT if you want to make it easier for you, and it is obviously more cost effective. You can do different things, but you need to update your resume to include all the HR keywords that we have going on and that we talked about in this webinar. You also want to apply to 10 different roles and set alerts and track these applications. So have a set career path, decide what you're trying to do, plan ahead, and don't get discouraged if even if you apply to 10 places and none of them call you. Do not get discouraged. Don't let that get to you. Just keep on applying and keep on moving forward. What can we do as a company for you? We have HRCI certification preparation courses for aPHR, PHR, and SPHR. aPHR is the one for the beginning level, PHR is mid-level, and SPHR is advanced level of HR, senior professional of human resources. Watch out for apprenticeship announcements. Once we have openings in our apprenticeship program, we will be happy to do an interview for you and see if you are a good fit for us as well as we are a good fit for you. You will get a certificate of attendance upon this webinar as well, just for attending this webinar. And you do want to make sure that you show these in your resume as we discussed. And HR Lab is an HRCI approved recertification provider. So if you need any kind of recertification provider courses, which you will need once you have your certifications, we have that available for you as well. In addition, we also do have business development and professional courses. We have courses such as business ethics, we have conflict resolution, workplace violence prevention plans. So I highly encourage you to check those out on our website and see if any of those are a good fit for you. And if they may be a good use for you as well. We will now answer any questions that we have going on and end our session if we don't have any. So let's see. So we have a question that says, when is our next training session for aPHR starting? So aPHR starts every first of the month. This is when we collect our pool. If the first falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, then it is that Monday of that month. So every first is when we start our courses. We have different groups for our students. We have different client courses that we have for them going on. They're very interactive, so feel free to join them if you want to. Check them out on our website and just we can get started whenever you are ready to do so. We have another question that says, do I need an HR bachelor's degree if I want to pass my aPHR certification? And yes, the answer to that is no, you don't need it. You do not need any bachelor's degree. You do not need an associate degree in HR if you're trying to apply for the aPHR certification. What you need to do is apply for the examination through HRCI, pass their exam, and this will set you up for the success for that certification. I think this is the end of our questions. We thank everyone that joined us on this webinar. And if please look out for our next webinars. We will be announcing those within the next 1 or 2 days. We have these webinars every Thursday and Friday, depending if it's professional development or compliance. We have these courses going on. So feel free to join us and learn something new and hopefully add it to your transferable skill set in any industry that you're in. Thank you everyone that joined, and we'll see you next week.